Welcome to Power to Lie. In today's conflict map, we are examining the Sahel Explained, who profits from the chaos. In 2025, gold hit record highs. Burkina Faso, Mali and Niger together produce around 230 tons of it every year. They sit on some of the richest mineral deposits on Earth, and they are among the poorest, most violent countries in the world. The gold is leaving. So who is it making rich? By the end of this, you will know exactly how that transfer works, who arranged it, who benefits from the fighting continuing, and why the accepted story about what Russia did in the Sahel is only half the picture. 3 landlocked countries, 3 coups in 3 years. Mali in 2020 and again in 2021. Burkina Faso in 2022. Niger in 2023. 3 military juntas. Assimi Goïta in Bamako, Ibrahim Traoré in Ouagadougou, Abdourahmane Tiani in Niamey. In January 2024, all 3 quit the regional bloc that had imposed sanctions after the coups, and formalized their break by founding the Alliance of Sahel States, a mutual defense pact. Each expelled French forces, each invited Russia in. The shared public logic was sovereignty. These juntas told their populations, and they told the world, that France had been in the Sahel for decades, and the security situation had only gotten worse. That was a tool of foreign interests, that they were reclaiming their nation's futures. These arguments landed. In all 3 capitals, the crowds that cheered the expulsion of French forces were real. The grievances behind those crowds were real. But beneath the sovereignty narrative sits a harder question. What did the juntas actually get? And what did they give up to get it? Start with what is under the ground, because that is where every decision in this episode leads back. Mali holds an estimated 881 tons of gold deposits across roughly 300 artisanal sites. More than 2 million people, over 10% of the population, depend on artisanal mining. It also holds lithium and high-grade uranium deposits. Burkina Faso is Africa's 4th largest gold producer. It extracted 57 tons in 2023, and gold accounts for more than 70% of its export revenue. Niger's prize is different. Uranium. France's nuclear sector sourced a significant share of its uranium from Niger. When Niamey expelled French forces and suspended uranium export agreements, Paris felt it immediately. Gold, uranium, lithium. 3 minerals that every major power on Earth currently needs. That combination is why this region draws competing bids from Russia, China, Western mining giants, and now Turkey and Iran, while simultaneously funding the jihadist insurgencies that are fighting over the same ground. Which brings us to the model. Analyst Jack Watling has described the standard Russian approach in Africa this way. Cover operational costs through parallel business activity. Specifically, mining concessions. Stoke insecurity. Pose as the security solution. Extract mineral wealth as payment. Watling has called it quite colonial. The mechanics work like this. A junta takes power. Coup sanctions follow, cutting off Western budget support. The junta faces a financial crisis and an active insurgency. It has limited leverage. Russia, first through Wagner, and then through Africa Corps, after Yevgeny Prigozhin's death in 2023, offers the one thing the junta needs most: regime security. The payment is partly cash, partly something more durable. Mali is estimated to pay Russian mercenaries approximately $10.8 million per month, partly in gold and access. The template was built in the Central African Republic. There, Wagner turned the Ndasima mine, sitting on deposits valued at approximately $2.8 billion, into a commercial venture. That model was then exported to Mali. Since Russia's February 2022 invasion of Ukraine, it is estimated to have made more than $2.5 billion from the African gold trade. That is not a side effect of the African deployment. Analysts, and the evidence increasingly suggest it is a primary purpose, though whether this represents deliberate strategic planning from the start, or opportunism that hardened into strategy, remains genuinely contested. What is not contested is where the money flows. And this is the part most coverage leaves out entirely. Here is what changes the frame. The country that sold itself as the Sahel's security solution is, right now, losing the war it came to fight, while still taking the gold. In April 2025, the Sahel's main al-Qaeda affiliate, and the Tuareg separatist forces, launched coordinated attacks across Mali. Mali's defense minister Sadio Kamara, the architect of the pivot to Russia, was assassinated by a suicide vehicle-borne explosive. Africa Corps accepted and escorted withdrawal from Kidal. a strategic town it had seized with significant fanfare in 2023, surrendering that gain without a fight. Tuareg fighters filmed themselves mocking the departing Russian convoy, besieged Bamako, and cut fuel supplies to the capital. According to data cited by Just Security, Russian-involved battles in Mali fell from 537 in 2024 to 402. In 2025, Africa Corps was down to roughly 24 incidents per month by early 2026. The Ukraine war is draining Africa Corps manpower available for the Sahel. There is a direct line here to the conflict this channel covered in the Russia-Ukraine episodes. In July 2024, at the ambush of Tinzaouatine, an estimated 84 Wagner fighters and 47 Malian soldiers were killed. Ukraine publicly claimed it, provided intelligence to the Tuareg rebels who carried out that attack. That claim has not been independently verified by this channel, and Russia disputes it. But if accurate, it means the Sahel has become a secondary theater of the same confrontation, and that the gold leaving Mali is helping to finance a war in which the Sahel's own insurgents are now, allegedly, an instrument. The Carnegie Endowment assessed in February 2026 that Russia may already have reached the high water mark in the Sahel. That is an analyst's judgment, not an established fact, and it does not mean the extraction stops. Now follow the money properly, because the numbers are striking. In February 2024, Africa Corps seized the Intahaka mine by force. Intahaka is Mali's largest artisanal gold site. It employed up to 4,000 miners. Russia is now building a 200-ton-per-year gold refinery in Bamako, with Russia's Yadran group holding a minority stake. The purpose is explicit: to allow Mali to bypass third-country refineries and process gold domestically, under an arrangement that gives Russia direct throughput. What does opacity look like in practice? In 2019, the UAE reported receiving 81 tons of Malian gold. In the same year, Mali declared gold exports of 567 kilograms. Those are the reported figures. This channel cannot independently establish what accounts for the gap, and presents them only to illustrate how opaque the trade is. 81 tons reported received. 567 kilograms officially declared. At the same time, Western operators are being squeezed out. Barrick Gold's Loulo-Gounkoto complex produced 19.4 tons in 2022, roughly one-third of Mali's entire national output. The junta has been seeking to expropriate it. Mali's four largest gold miners, Resolute, Barrick, B2 Gold and Allied, paid a combined $588 million in taxes and royalties in 2022 alone. That revenue does not disappear when a Western firm leaves. It gets redirected to the junta, to its Russian security partners, and to the opaque export channels the 2019 UAE figures illustrate. Who benefits from Western firms leaving? Russia's Nordgold, Yadran Group, and Rosatom gain direct access to concessions, refinery throughput, and uranium agreements that were previously closed to them. The juntas gain revenue streams with no attached transparency conditions. And the intermediary trading networks, routed through the UAE and other low-disclosure jurisdictions, gain volume. In Burkina Faso, Ibrahim Traoré stated his intent to limit foreign mining activity, with explicit exceptions for Russian firms. The state took the Bungu and Wagner mines for approximately $80 million. Assets valued at around $300 million. State miner Sopamib took 5 assets from Endeavour and Lithium, and is pushing for a 35% stake in West African Resources' Kiaka project. Meanwhile, Burkina Faso granted Russia's Nordgold the Niou gold deposit, with future output valued at more than $2.3 billion. Assets acquired at $80 million, valued at $300 million, while a single Russian grant is worth $2.3 billion. In November 2024, Metal Market Europe, citing the BBC, reported that the BBC had seen internal Russian strategy documents describing a coordinated plan to influence West African mining regulation, drive out Western firms, and use the Niger relationship specifically to threaten French uranium access. This channel attributes that claim strictly to those reports. It has not independently verified the documents, but the pattern those documents allegedly describe is consistent with every transaction listed above. In 2024, Mali signed deals with Rosatom for nuclear infrastructure, and Rosatom subsidiary Uranium once signed agreements covering uranium and potential lithium exploration. The extraction is no longer only gold. Russia is not the only bidder, and the juntas know it. Turkey is supplying drones and building regional influence across the Sahel. China is deepening minerals and infrastructure ties, without the ideological complications that come with Moscow. In February 2026, Mali's prime minister met the new Iranian and Chinese ambassadors, with Iran explicitly focused on security and defense cooperation. This is the part the Russia versus West binary misses entirely. The juntas are not pawns. They are running an auction. Russia provided the initial security guarantee when no one else would. But, with Africa Corps stretched and the battlefield deteriorating, Bamako, Ouagadougou, and Niamey are shopping. Each new bidder gets a foot in the door. Each new bidder has an interest in the instability that keeps them needed. What does a resolution actually cost? For the juntas, it costs the emergency powers, the suspension of civilian oversight, and the resource revenues that currently flow without democratic accountability. For Russia, it costs the mining concessions, the refinery in Bamako, the Nord Gold deal in Burkina Faso, and the gold that is helping finance a war in Europe. For the new bidders, Nord Gold, Rosatom, Uranium First, Turkish defense suppliers, Chinese infrastructure contractors, and Iranian security partners, resolution costs the access that requires the juntas to stay in power and keep Western firms out. For Western governments, they have already lost. They are now managing the damage, trying to protect uranium supply chains and residual influence. For the insurgencies, a stable state with functioning mineral governance removes the financial oxygen that artisanal mining in contested zones currently provides. Human Rights Watch has documented abuses by all sides in the Sahel, by juntas, by Africa Corps, by jihadist groups, by Tuareg factions. 2 million artisanal miners and the civilians caught between them are the one constituency with no seat at the table where the minerals are divided. Every other actor in this episode has a concrete reason for the current situation to continue. That is not a conspiracy. No single actor designed it. It is a structural problem. The incentives of every party with power align, however imperfectly, toward continuation. The incentives of the people with the least power align toward resolution. Was this a deliberate strategy from the start, or opportunism that became a system? The evidence does not settle that. What the evidence does show is that the system, whatever its origins, now has its own momentum. And that momentum is paid for in one currency above all others, the gold that leaves the Sahel and does not come back. We do not tell you what to think. We show you what changed, who benefits, and what the evidence says. That's Conflict Map for today. If you want to see how political narratives are fact-checked with data, true, false, or framed is coming soon. And if you want to understand how history explains the present, history behind the lie is also on the way. Subscribe so you don't miss either. Thank you for watching. See you next time.